Hey guys, welcome to another overclocking guide. Today we're taking a look on how to delete i7 6700K Skylake CPU. It's the same like the i5 6600K when it comes to delidding, but yeah, in general it's much easier than Haskell because some parts were moved around the die, so you don't have to be that careful anymore. I also have to say that I advise not to use the vice method because the PCB is much thinner and the risk of crashing the PCB is quite high. So I advise to use the razorblade method. So let's take a look at what we need. First of all, we need a CPU. It's a normal 6700K. You can also use this tutorial for the 6600K CPU. You need a razorblade. In detail, it's really a normal razor blade I bought at a normal convenience store, and I wrapped some tape around it to protect my fingers and make it a little bit stronger around bending. You need some thermal paste. In detail, I'm using the thermal greasy cryonaut, which should be the best conventional thermal paste. You can also use some liquid metal products which will perform better on air cooling, but since I want to use my CPU also for liquid nitrogen cooling, I have to use a normal thermal paste. In the end, you also need some glue. This is some pretty normal silicone glue you can get on a DIY store. Nothing special, just with black color, so it suits the normal Intel look. Okay, that's about it. Let's take a look on how to delete this CPU. Take the CPU in the razor blade and start cutting on one edge. Be really careful that you don't scratch the PCB with the razor blade, otherwise you might damage the CPU permanently. My approach is to start on one edge and go right around the CPU once. Some other guys say it's easier to start cutting all four edges and then go straight in with a razor blade from the sides. Use your thumb to apply some pressure on the middle of the CPU and avoid pressure on the edges of the PCB, otherwise you might damage the PCB or also bend it. Sometimes it's quite difficult to cut in one step like I did around the CPU, but that's no problem. You can always get the razor blade back out and then start at a different edge. In the end, I had to push the razor blade right back in to remove the last bits of the glue. Now you can remove the IHS, twist it a little bit and take it off carefully. Now you can also take a look on it right in the Intel thermal paste which we want to replace. Now the next step is to clean the CPU and especially the glue around, which you can see here. Peel it off with your fingernail, for example. Don't use a knife because you can damage the PCB. Also remove the glue from the IHS and in the end remove the old thermal paste with some cleaner or alcohol. After cleaning the CPU, we will apply the new thermal paste. I'm using a conventional thermal paste, in this case thermal grizzly. Of course you can also use a liquid metal product which will perform a little bit better on air or water cooling, but if you use the liquid metal product, be careful because it's electrically conductive. If you use a normal thermal paste like I do, just apply a little bit in the middle and afterwards we will spread it with a normal applicator. Afterwards it should look kind of like this. Make sure the layer is thick enough to cover everything but not too thick. This is how the IHS should look like after cleaning. You can see all the glue is removed. And now we reapply the new glue. Like I said in the introduction, I'm using a normal silicone glue. You can see it's black and in the end it will kind of look similar to the old Intel glue. Now it's time to glue the IHS back on. Put the CPU back in the socket, make sure it's perfectly placed and put the IHS back on. Make sure it's aligned to the middle and also place the IHS a little bit to the left towards the socket frame because closing it, the socket frame will push the IHS a little bit to the right, which you can see now. Close it carefully, also use your finger to keep the position of the IHS and then slowly close it. Now we will take a look at the actual difference. This is a screenshot I took before delidding. You can see the CPU is running at around 4600 MHz and a core voltage of 1.376 volt. I'm using Prime 95 to get the maximum heat out of the CPU, and you can see in core temp the temperature is with a maximum of 86 degrees and average is around 80 degrees. Now this is a screenshot I took afterwards. You can see the CPU is running again at the same voltage of 1.376 volt and also 4600 MHz. I'm using again Prime 95 at 8K custom FFT length. And if you take a look at the temperatures, you can see the maximum now dropped to 73 degrees, which is 13 degrees lower than before. And you can also see the average core temperature is around 68 degrees. So that's a difference of 12 degrees compared to the stock Intel TIM, which is quite good difference. Okay, that's it. Well, thanks for looking at my tutorial. If you have any questions or if you need help deleting, just let me know.